Little top tens here. Today, we all know that Henry Ford is remembered as a U.S. industrialist, the developer of the assembly line, and most importantly, the man who gave the average American a chance to own a car. The famous People's Man, however, led an extremely controversial life and held rather dubious opinions. Below, we have 10 of the most curious episodes from Ford's life. So basically, what we're talking about is top 10 crazy forgotten facts about Henry Ford. So, anyway, a little bit of this stuff about Henry Ford, maybe a little bit I'll say a little bit inappropriate for some people, like Bonnie and Clyde, for example. So, I wouldn't say viewer discretion is advised. I would say between that and, well, it really depends. Alright, number 10 is Bonnie and Clyde recommend Ford cars for getaways. So, in 1934, Clyde DeBarro he wrote Henry Ford a letter in which Barrow praised the Ford V8 as a getaway car. The infamous letter was dated April 10, 1934, and read, "While I still got breath in my lungs, I will tell you what a dandy car you make. I've drove Fords exclusively when I could get away with one. For sustained speed and freedom from trouble, the Ford has got ever other car skin, and even if my business hasn't been strictly legal, it don't hurt anything to tell you what a fine car you got in the V8. Of course, the authenticity of the letter has always been in dispute. Some suggest that it was activity written by Bonnie Parker because the hammer was closer to hers. However, after reviewing the content and circumstances of the letter's mailing, Clyde DeBarro, my biographer, this dude's name is Jeff Gilm, I do believe, concluded that it's very likely that Barrow himself wrote and even mailed the letter. Alright, number 9 is Ford disliked experience. Alright, so number 9 is Ford disliked experts. What a piece of trash right there. I mean, experts are supposed to help him, not Henry Ford saying, "Yep, I don't need anything like that." So Ford greatly disliked experts and refused to employ them. In his 1924 book, My Life at Work, he said, "I never employ an expert in full bloom. If I'd ever wanted to kill opposition by unfair means, I would endow the opposition with experts." As a consequence, Ford Motor Company did not have any employees with advanced engineering or design engineering skills. In fact, it did not even have a proving ground, instead opted to test cars on public highways. Well, back then they didn't have interstates, so they would use the U.S. route. I don't know. But this lack of experts on site often proved financially disastrous. One time, for example, when Ford's electrical engineers couldn't solve a problem with a massive generator, they employed the electrical engineer Charles Steinmetz to help them. On site, Steinmetz rejected all help and solved the problem in just 2 days with the aid of a notebook, a pencil, and a cot. On the second night, Steinmetz climbed on top of the generator and made a chalk mark on its side. Then he told Ford's engineers to remove a plate at the mark and replaced 16 windings from the fuel coil. Once that was done, the generator performed perfectly to the delight of Ford. But his delight only lasted until a bill for $10,000 came. Flabbergasted, Ford requested the bill to be itemized. Steinmetz responded to Ford's request with the following: making chalk mark on generator, $1. Nowhere to make mark, $9,999. That's very nice. Alright, number 8 is Ford Ship of Fools. Very insane. In 1915, Henry Ford set sail for Europe on his peace ship, a chartered ocean liner adorned with a large white cross on its hull. According to the Chicago Daily Tribune, Ford was accompanied by 63 pacifists, 54 reporters, and 4 Chicago babies. Their mission was simple: to end the carnage of World War I by by convincing soldiers on both sides to go on the general strike. Although the idea of soldier strikes caught on eventually, it was first met with derision and anger. The London Standard ran an article on Ford's expedition headlined as pro-German peace cruise, whereas the Brooklyn Eagle headlined it as junketing in the name of peace. When the peace ship landed in Copenhagen, Denmark, only 8 college students turned out to greet the delegates. Disheartened by the lack of success in his peace project, Ford spent the majority of his time in his stateroom. On Christmas Eve, he claimed illness and skipped the pacifist train to Stockholm in Sweden. Instead, he set sail home on the Norwegian liner. Others pacifists soon followed in his steps. Alright, number 7 is Ford's trial with a 6-cent verdict. So, alright, after Ford opposed President Woodrow Wilson's plan to send troops to help defeat revolutionaries along the Mexican border, the Chicago Tribune called Ford an ignorant idealist and an anarchist enemy of the nation. In return, Ford sued the newspaper for defamation and $1 million in damages. In summer 1919, the lawsuit went to trial and lasted about 14 weeks. It generated 2 million words of testimony as the Tribune sought to demonstrate to the world that Ford was indeed an ignorant idealist. After the trial, the media was not very kind to the people's tycoon, who had failed to answer high school level questions. Mr. Ford has been submitted, well, indeed submitted here, so. Alright. Well, they were submitted to serve severe examination. Well, you could tell from there, guys. Severe examination. And I'm having severe computer problems, as my computer's about to die. Okay, good. Alright. There we go, calm down. Alright, number 6 is Ford's Sociology Department. So, to ensure that his workers were model Americans, Ford set up a division within his company called the Ford Sociology Department. A team of investigators were tasked with probing every aspect of the lives of Ford employees, including their children's health and marital relationships. Patriotism and assimilation were not just encouraged, but they were forced upon the employees. Ford set up a Ford English schools that was so rigorous and thorough that a diploma from it could be counted toward a requirement for citizenship. Well, if you failed to live up to Ford's standards, you were first blacklisted, and then you had to pay cut to $2.34 a day. Of course, if all these warnings failed to put you on the back line, oh well, you're eventually fired. So, anyway, number 5 here is the Dearborn Independent and the Jewish Conspiracy. At the end of 1918, Ford purchased a newspaper called the Dearborn Independent. In 1920, the newspaper published an article titled The International Jew, the World's Problem. Articles that followed blamed Jews for the decline in U.S. culture, values, products, and entertainment, obviously. The articles also accused Jews of being the instigators of World War I. Many of the articles were collected and published in a book called The International Jew, the World's Most Foremost Problem. Or I should say, not most, foremost, I should say. It became a bestseller in Nazi Germany, and Adolf Hitler praised Ford in Mein Kampf. Or, what was it called? Oh well. So, anyway, in 1927, Ford was sued for defamation by a Jewish lawyer named Aaron Spado. Ford refused to take responsibility for the articles published in the Dearborn Independent, and allegedly faked a car accident to avoid testifying. The suit ended in the mistrial, and Ford agreed to settle privately with Spado. A public apology was published in this newspaper, and the Dearborn Independent was closed down at the end of the year. Alright, number 4. Ford, Edison, and their friends went road tripping in Model Ts. Between 1914 and 1924, Ford, Thomas Edison, tire manufacturer Harvey Firestone, and nature writer John Burroughs embarked on a series of historical road trips. Edison usually chose the route. Driving the front car, he navigated the roads, dotted with hand-drawn signs that warned to drive slow, dangerous as the devil, with a compass and a couple of atlases. Ford took on the role of a mechanic and organized tree climbing and woodchopping contests. Firestone was in charge of meals and impromptu poetry recitals. Burroughs led botanical hikes and taught the others how to identify wild plants and birdsong. But the trips were not as rough or as well as they sound. Sometimes as many as 50 Ford vehicles tagged along with supplies, official film crew, and personal attendants. The man also had a gourmet kitchen staff who wore bow ties. Each man had a 1 square meter or 10 square feet canvas tent outfitted with a cot and mattress. Alright, number 3 is Model Ts were extremely unreliable. Yeah, some people say it was a revolutionary vehicle. I say it's unreliable. So, Model Ts were made as cheaply as possible to make them accessible to almost everyone. However, this meant that the cars were poorly designed and often needed maintenance and repairs. When police departments were becoming motorized, most of them chose Model Ts as a new means of transportation. However, the Model Ts were soon replaced with more reliable cars as police departments realized that the amount of money spent on repairs cost them more than the price of the actual car itself. Henry Ford had only one rule concerning improvements to the Model T. If it cost more money or took more time, you could not be bothered with it. Alright, number 2 is that Henry Ford seriously tried to become president of the United States. Literally. So, in 1916, Henry Ford won the Republican presidential primary for Michigan, without even campaigning. Many Americans wished to see Ford in the White House. In preparation for the 1924 election, his supporters established Ford for President clubs all over the nation. Upon hearing that Ford was considered running for U.S. president, Hitler told the Chicago Tribune, "I wish that I could send some of my shock troops to Chicago and other big American cities to help in the elections." For his part, Ford was not interested in running. "I don't think any man should run for president," he said in 1916. And no one could persuade him otherwise. Alright guys, we go on to number one. Alright, number 1 is that Ford's attempt to put the average man in air. So, Ford's success in making a car available to every U.S. citizen led him to believe that he could do the same thing with planes. Thus, Ford hired the engineer Otto Kalpen and charged him with designing a small light plane. So, that design was finished in 1926 and was called Ford Fliver. The plane's flaps were arranged in such a way as to give it maximum upward lift in small spaces, and a rear wheel meant it could be driven from your home to a makeshift runway. The plane was an absolute success. In 1920, the pilot Harry J. Brooks attempted to fly Fliver, from Michigan to Miami on a single take of gas. However, as Brooks was cruising over the ocean, the Fliver's engine locked up, smashed up the plane, and the pilot into the water. Brooks' body was never found. The accident put an end to the project, but in 1940, Ford announced, "Mark my words, a combination airplane and motorcar is coming. You may smile, but will come." Alright guys, that is it for the top 10s. If you have any other facts about Henry Ford that I didn't know about, just besides this top 10 list, just let me know in the comments down below, alright? Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to support me on Patreon, like this video, and see you guys next time in another video. Take care.